in Nova Scotia, Halifax, and so I would be working primarily with all the programs in the region of Nova Scotia to support employers with funding and with bringing opportunities forward to our students. Yeah, I happen to have an undergrad with the BBA, so I have taken some classes. I certainly understand, not at the master's level, but I certainly understand at the undergrad level. And I have various certificates that I've attained. These are professional certificates. The reason why I even listed them and what the relevancy would, for me explaining to you, is that I just want to preface the idea of specialization. Everybody, you know, here is going to be going through a cohort of learning and will have a certain designation of learning and different experiences through your work experience. However, I just want to stress the idea of specialization and also just putting yourself with your own learning, if that means that you need to attain a little bit more finance or a little bit marketing. So there's all types of ways to learn, although you're even joining an actual program. And that specialization and certification has allowed me to specialize in the area of career development, and in particular with nonprofits, provincial and federal government. And I've had two main big experiences before coming to university where I was coordinating provincially an internship program, and I've placed over 700 students in government for 6, 9 month, 12-month internships in various departments. So I have a lot of experience working with the youth development and coordinating employment. And also, like Aisha, I'm a big supporter of immigration, and I've worked primarily head spearing immigration pilot projects here on behalf of the province. So that's a big passion of mine in work. And when it comes to personal, I'm a real advocate of volunteering. I have advocated for volunteering and supporting my community. My adult young children will tell you I bug the heck out of them to volunteer and give back to the community as well. I think there's a lot of validity in learning there, and I support dog therapy. So I have a really old lab shepherd. He's a big boy, he's old, but he's really helpful, and he helps people feel better about themselves. And we go to hospitals and we help persons with a mental illness. So that's kind of something that I do on the side. And by the way, we bring them when we have on campus, when you do join us ever on campus, we will have dog therapy there too. It really helps the stress of exams. And they're doing it virtually right now, which I find really exciting. So thanks so much and welcome. And we're really excited to have you.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Hi, everyone. So I'm just putting this slide back up. We covered this in the last presentation, but Aisha and Cindy, I'm just putting this up, you know, as a reminder of how our recruitment timeline will flow out over the next 2 to 3 terms, okay? So in the summer, as you know, we will be covering the PPE curriculum, Dan and I, so we'll cover off a lot of these topics, you know, like reflective practice and strength finder, and we'll do some assessments and video pitches and mixing and mingling with employers and alumni, those types of things. And then of course, as we move into the fall and into the new year, that's when we'll really put a focus on interview skills and prepping for jobs, job postings, my career, you know, all of that. That nice bundle that we'll work with in the fall and into the new year to help our students prepare for the residency search and for interviews and to connect well with employers, you know, as they try and secure their residency. So that's so we can move on to the next slide. Okay, so Aisha, I'll pass that back over to you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. So for the corporate residency MBA program, you will see starting from probably October, November and onwards, a mix of exclusive and non-exclusive jobs to Dalhousie. What I mean by that is we work with many employers, both small to medium sized, but also very large national and multinational organizations. And we do have very established employer partnerships. They know the quality of our program. And some of them do come to Dalhousie before they go to any other university to post their jobs and find the right candidate for their positions. And then if they can't find the right candidate, then they move on to other universities and post their jobs. Those would be, big banks and some other national companies. And then we do work with small to, boutique companies, small to medium-sized enterprises, and they don't go anywhere else. They don't have big HR departments. They would come to Dalhousie and exclusively post their jobs to hire from Dalhousie. So once we start advertising 8-month corporate residency MBA job postings, you're going to see a mix of them. We would highly encourage you to, if you're interested in the organization and opportunities, just submit your applications. Don't really, so much focus on, the organization or the job title or the location or the salary. Yes, they do, have some importance in terms of your selection. But the most important thing is for you to really gain transferable skills and experience. And actually, I can speak to that from my own experience. As I mentioned, I'm a professionally trained lawyer. It's a regulated industry. And when I was taking my degree, if somebody told me that I would end up in Canada, I wouldn't believe it, right? Because I didn't plan for it, but life happens in a very nice, surprising ways. And more than my degree, the transferable skills and experiences I gained paved the way for my career, right? So it is very important for you to really not judge the book by the cover. Just look at, okay, what I can gain from that job? What kind of transferable skills? If I don't have any skills or very little experience, how can I build and develop my skills? And for exclusive jobs, your competition is, I understand that we have 46 wonderful, talented MBA students. You'll be competing with your cohort. So it's a smaller competition. For some students, we know they want to work for large organizations, well-known brand names, but probably many other schools, MBA students and undergraduate students also want to work for those companies, and there would be a greater competition for those positions. And those employers may want to receive applications through their own applicant tracking systems, online applications, and it's not surprising for those employers to post one position and sometimes receive, 1,000, 1,500 applications or a couple of hundred applications. So for some of the very highly desired companies and positions, competition might be very fierce. You may not be ready for, some of those companies because there may be more experienced students. But that's why if you build your skill set, even if you don't secure your residency in your dream company or dream position, then our real purpose is to prepare you for the grad job search so that you can build the connections, you can gain those skills, transferable skills and experience so that upon graduation, you can get these jobs. And we have many examples, successful examples of that. A final point I would like to make is when employers post their jobs at Dalhousie, they're not obligated to hire Dalhousie students. If they don't find the right candidates, they go and post those jobs at other schools. So that is very important to keep in mind. And before we move on, Ali and Cindy, if you have anything else to add on, please feel free.
No, that's great, Aisha. I spoke about this a little bit in the first presentation, but you know, and there's lots of opportunities out there. There are a lot of opportunities that will come your way. You know, to students, a lot of opportunities will come your way. I think, you know, just to add to what Aisha was saying, and we'll talk a lot about this in the summer, is about being prepared. You know, doing your research, chatting with folks, and being prepared for when opportunities do present themselves. Okay, yeah, thank you, Aisha.
Thanks. And this is over to Cindy.
Thank you. Why do employers consider CRMBA interns? Well, there are some points that I'd like to bring up as a reason of discussion for, you know, why MBA? Why CRMBA? You know, there's many opportunities and opportunities for employers to hire. I think one of the significant pieces that we use in employer development, so we're also selling and sharing with employers the opportunity to hire young talent. And so what better opportunity for an employer to take an 8-month job interview? So if you think about it, as students, you have an opportunity to impress an employer and as well as evaluate this employer during an 8-month interview, really. And so I would look at this as not only just an opportunity to gain skills and leverage yourself within a company, but also to look at this as an opportunity upon graduation. Often employers are looking to access, you know, take a look at and stake at the talent and do concession planning. So they are assessing you possibly for upon graduation and looking for a good fit within their firm. Also, this is a cost-effective way to meet young talent and bring in support with some special projects. You know, often now that we're looking at the residency being where it is and at the timing, this will help support a lot of the projects that might be having a low because of staffing, vacations, and peak periods. So when you look at you as a candidacy within your residency, you can also look at this when you're leveraging through LinkedIn and conversations, informational interviews, opportunities, how you could spin this in terms of your own way of looking at what you're bringing to the company, that you're also bringing your fresh perspective, your savvy in terms of, you know, your air and what you bring just as a specialization. Also, you're well networked in terms of looking at social media. You can, the company can bring their brand awareness through supporting an MBA. So there's a lot of opportunities for employers to be recognized with DAL. And like Dan said, once we have our students go through this MBA program, they become successful career professionals, and they want to also give back. So a lot of the alumni are wanting to pay it forward and pay respects to the program, and also they understand what it means to be in your shoes and to look for employment and to gain valuable, meaningful experiences. So often alumni are first to support corporate residency. As far as that goes, I just want to share some really high-level reasons to why you know, employers consider our corporate residency MBA students.
Okay, I guess this is over to me. And we're gonna talk about self-directed job search. And what I mean by that is Cindy and I work really hard. You have a very strong team to support your program. And I'm very proud to share this information that we have supported the CRMBA program since its inception. And each and every year, we have reached 100% recruitment rate for the internship. So that's a huge success. Not many other schools are able to claim. We are going to talk about COVID-19 and its impact on the economy and labor market briefly. This slide is about the hidden job market, and when I mention hidden job market, it refers to finding or creating jobs that are not publicly advertised by employers. And Kate, if we could please bring our poll. So I want to ask our students the percentage of jobs that are found through the hidden job market. What would that be? What would be your guess? What percentage of jobs are found through the hidden job market, not advertised by employers? Just take a wild guess. This will take a few seconds. Please feel free to click on the options you think that is a realistic answer to that question.
So Aisha, the responses are coming in. We'll just wait for another moment.
Sure.
There's, I can see 46 responses coming in.
Okay.
Oh, here we go. Still a couple more coming in.
Excellent.
Okay, Kate, I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you, Ali. Thank you, Kate. So let's see. Fantastic. You guys are right on. So actually, yeah, we can close it. 80% of jobs that are found are through unadvertised jobs. So hidden job market exists in each and every country. And in some countries, actually, it's more prevalent than others. And Canada is no exception to that. So this is to say that although Management Career Services, the CRMBA team, we will do our best to support you. We will bring exclusive, non-exclusive opportunities. These jobs will be posted, and it's the traditional recruitment method through competition. As Ali mentioned, you need to prepare and you need to compete for the job. And hopefully, you know, you'll get the job you want. But that represents 20% of the job market. This iceberg means that actually the larger portion of the job search and labor market is actually below the water, that hidden job market. And there are many advantages of tapping into that resource because you don't need to compete with others. You can leverage alumni, you can leverage, you know, online networking, job boards. I personally leverage LinkedIn quite a bit to reach out, engage employer partners with Dalhousie, and you know, engage alumni with us. And in the past, both in the MBA and undergraduate programs, our students have been tremendously successful through their self-directed job search. So that 80%, and actually I can make a guess, probably because of COVID-19, that hidden job market might grow and there may be a larger portion of jobs being secured through the hidden labor market. So you can start your self-directed job search even now. If people know about you, that you're an MBA student, you're looking for an 8-month residency from May till December next year in whatever area you're interested in, you can start marketing yourself now. You can start making these connections now. And if you make a favorable impression and if you can convince the employers that you're the person that they are looking for, then you are creating your opportunity without competing with, you know, starting from your cohort or other hundreds of students from across Canada. So Ali will be providing some workshops about informational interviews. My colleague Jonathan will be providing a separate workshop about LinkedIn, and indeed LinkedIn, and there are other job aggregating websites. You can create your own filters based on your interests, location, length of the internship, And I have these alerts, job alerts set up in multiple websites, and every day I keep receiving alerts. I screen them, and then I leverage LinkedIn to get in follow up and get in touch with these employers to establish a relationship with Dow. I do it at the organizational level, and I highly encourage each and every one of you to leverage all of these platforms to connect with alumni and other employers that you're interested in, to establish a relationship, gain their trust, and then eventually these connections might turn into an internship. And then when you graduate, it might turn into a graduate job opportunity. These skills are very important. I think Robert talked about, teaching you how to fish rather than presenting you a fish in the silver platter. It's extremely important, because then you will win for the rest of your life. You will know how to create opportunities for yourself, starting from your residency to your grad job and for the rest of your life. And I just want to, before I switch it over to the next slide, in my MBA program, although we do have mid-career professionals, they are already in their jobs, but many of them are looking for either promotions or switching their careers. And they've been asking for career services, because although they're taking their MBAs, actually, many people throughout their undergraduate studies and master's level, there's no career guidance. And you can't imagine how many people who may not know how to conduct an informational interview, how to write a cover letter and resume, job search skills, interview skills. So this is one of the unique differentiators of the corporate residency MBA program. We prepare you for life. In addition to your MBA courses, you're going to gain career intelligence and career development skills that will serve you for the rest of your life. And it's invaluable. And I congratulate you actually for choosing this program. And I endorse this program actually full-heartedly. So if you don't have any questions, and if Ali and Cindy don't have anything to else, we're going to move on to the next slide. So COVID-19, I will get it started, and Cindy and everybody else, please feel free to chime in. As you all know, both Canada and globally, we are going through an unprecedented time. So labor market is different. A lot of employers are experiencing challenges in terms of their recruitment budgets. And since we are working with undergraduate programs right now, in summer, we have experienced significant drops in terms of the number of jobs being posted for our undergraduate programs. Situation is improving for fall, but I think Robert received some stats. Currently, it's almost 40% down from our last year activities. We are working very hard to engage new employers, because each economic crisis creates opportunities for certain industries like e-commerce and information technology. Those sectors are booming, healthcare, whereas some other sectors are being hard hit. Retail sector, I can give you a few examples, like Canadian Tire, for example. They used to post double-digit 40, 50 jobs for our programs, and they're posting none, right? So it is a different environment. It is very important to keep the dynamics of the economy and labor market in mind. And it really reinforces what I presented in the previous slide. Yes, you're going to apply for jobs that we post and you're going to find online through employers' website. But tapping into that hidden labor market may be the key for success. And you know, it's never too early to start that connection and job search. Ali, Cindy, Robert, Dan, please feel free to jump in if you would like to add anything else.
So I'll put a positive spin on it very quickly, Aisha. So for those of you in the room, we're launching an MBA program this week. We're thinking about you. A lot of work has been done. All the while that this was going on, these two ladies, Aisha and Cindy, have been doing amazing things with a lot of employers. Our employment rate for our summer commerce students is higher than some other programs in the country, and they have just done an amazing amount of work in the last 6 weeks with our employment levels of connecting employers to different funding programs and so on. So while Aisha is being very real in terms of the impact of COVID-19 on the economy, and it has to be discussed, Aisha, so thank you. We moved the residency forward on purpose for a reason, but we also are working tremendously hard. This program has a wonderful reputation, and I just wanted to say that certainly Aisha and Cindy have been doing some great things. We've been focused a lot on the summer of our commerce cohort because a lot of students lost jobs. There were double digits jobs being rescinded and stuff. The nice thing is you're beginning an academic program and you're not looking for a job for June. You're looking for a job for next May. So time is certainly on our side.
Yep, thank you for that, Robert.
I'd like to chime in too. Chime in and say, in terms of Nova Scotia here locally, last year was my first time working with the CRMBA and generating some positions for students to apply. And we had about 10 or more new employers come on board locally within different business industries. And I have to say, when I was doing and conducting the midterm reviews to those students, majority of those employers are looking to retain those students part-time while they were going through the residency in the fall. So that's some success stories right there, that these are small businesses or mid-sized businesses. However, once they've seen the work of what the MBA student could do and how it leveraged their business, they were so excited they just figured out a way to keep them. So that's some of the successes that I'm seeing locally here, as well as just you know, like I said, I mentioned I have 2 young adult children, so I happen to be understanding what the Gen Zs and Gen Z you know, millennials, you know, are caring for, what their desires are, regardless if you're an MBA corporate residency, is that often when it comes to the startup community, it's very attractable. You know, you might not think of that at a corporate residency. You might think of some high level corporations, which is totally fine. But I just want to say some of our students have done some very successful work in the IA, in the IT industry, although COVID is hitting the retail sector like unprecedented times on a national level. We are also seeing some real uptake with some very specific industry partners that are receiving additional monies, looking for additional recruits. So it is a bit of a tipsy-turvy kind of time for employers, depending on what sector they are in. But I would say that the momentum is still very positive, and I will get into it at the end of the presentation about the funding and how that is leveraging even opportunities more within the next coming fiscal year.
Thank you for that, Cindy. So we can move on to the next slide, please.
Aisha, before you move on, I just wanted to chime in as well. In addition to everything that you've said, and Cindy and Robert, thank you. I also want to say that you guys have the benefit of time, all right? As we've mentioned, the residency has moved ahead, so you have the benefit of time. And I cannot stress enough to really take advantage of that time to start now, start this week, you know, start to think about you know, industries of interest, start to connect with people, start to build those relationships, okay? No time like the present to start building those relationships. We also, later in the term, we will provide you with some Dalhousie Management Career Services marketing collateral, okay? So you'll be able to present that marketing material along with your own marketing, you know, material, and sell your own brand to employers out there to be able to secure opportunities and connections and things like that. And we're here for you. You have our ongoing support, our coaching, our guidance as you go through this journey.
I think this is over to Cindy.
So ideally, we have an online job portal. You're going to receive training on that job portal, so I won't get into the details of that. It is called My Career. All employers are encouraged to post through that channel. However, we've been talking a lot about self-directed jobs, about the hidden job market. So there is going to be a mechanism if you end up finding a job, meaning self-founded, meaning you've developed it, you've worked through that you can upload that in My Career for approval through Ali. However, My Career is basically a wonderful database that can be used in many ways, internally, externally. It also is a way to leverage events. We'll be having all kinds of opportunities through this portal, that you could participate. Robert, we had a meeting with the undergrad programs earlier this morning, and Robert and the communications team was talking about the amount of events that were happening. So there's many different ways to engage with this platform. This is just to kind of, this slide is just to kind of showcase the fact that we do have a mechanism for recruitment, and you will get further training in that.
Thanks for that, Cindy. And before I move on to this slide, actually, in addition to job postings, you'll see the events calendar in My Career, and during the fall period, there's going to be a lot of, probably in the virtual form, employer information sessions. We would highly encourage you to participate in these sessions to learn about different companies, what kind of skill sets they're looking for. And that's another great way of connecting with these employers and their representatives. Note down their names, find them on LinkedIn, send them a message. That was a great information session. I would like to chat because I'm really interested in XYZ business line. So you can leverage a lot of the both job postings and events that we will be presenting to you through My Career. And there's going to be a separate session about My Career. Yes, we can move on to the logos. Thanks, Kate. So as I mentioned, we have very established employer partners from across Canada. These are household names, and also every year we attract small to medium-sized enterprises. They are keen to hire from our program. Every year students ask us, okay, could you please tell us the list of companies who are going to post jobs with us and what kind of positions they're going to post with us? And the answer is, we've been working with these employers and many more that we couldn't fit into a slide, but we cannot give you a definitive list about XYZ company is going to definitely post and hire for this position, because to be honest, because of COVID-19, some of our employer partners don't even know. They are in conversations with their business lines. They need to confirm their budgets. They're still figuring out if it's going to be virtual, in person. Hopefully, that's another reason why actually we moved the internship to May, so that will work to your advantage. Probably there will be more of a normalization by next May. But right now we can speak for summer and fall co-op work terms. Some of the employers, even if they do have the funding, the nature of the job does not lend itself for virtual work, or the supervisors are not comfortable. So there are many additional factors impacting employers' decision to post and move forward. But the primary one is the budget. And even very large employers at this stage are trying to leverage funding opportunities, provincial and federal funding opportunities to subsidize their co-op salaries. That's why we will dedicate some time and slides on that. But I can tell you that it is a partnership between Dalhousie, employers, and students. We need to work together because no matter what we do as the employer development team, if the students are not pulling their weight and showing what you have to offer to employers, as I mentioned, these employers, although they do know the quality of the program, they like Dalhousie and we have a proven reputation. They don't have to hire if they don't find the right candidate. That's why students play a big part in that. We will bring the jobs, but then you need to do your best to get the jobs, and both in terms of the interview process and also self-directed job search. And we are hopeful that, you know, we will achieve great outcomes, recruitment outcomes for May 2021. And we have a good period of time to generate jobs and for you to really leverage your connections. And many of our employer partners are very impressed with the quality of their interns. That's why they keep coming back to this program to hire. And we can move on to the next slide, please.
Excuse me, Aisha.
Yeah, sure.
We have a question coming in from Jillian. Hi, Jillian. Do you want to go ahead and ask your question?
Yeah, also I wanted to make 2 quick points. The first one, just because I'm kind of curious, and also because it hasn't been mentioned yet. And I was wondering how many people here are involved in, I know we've been talking about coronavirus so much, and like I know that is so important, especially logistically for the program. But I'm also wondering how many people have like participated in the Black Lives Matter like protests, because I think that might also be, we haven't acknowledged it yet. So I was just wondering, I just wanted to bring that up. And then the second thing too, Aisha, I totally agree with you that like they don't have to choose us if they don't want to, but I think it's also important to know that if we're not agreeing with their standards or values when it comes to like who's on their board of directors and things like that, then it's also like our responsibility to not go with that company. But yeah, I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, exactly, Jillian. Thanks for the question, and it's a great question. So in terms of the culture, values alignment, it's extremely important. That's why that's your part, because each student's preference is different. Each student's interest and values might lie in a different place. We will engage many employers. They're all great employer partners, but you need to do your research to identify where do you see yourself? Where's that alignment? And then if you see a great alignment and if you can articulate that during the interview, that's fantastic. And faculty on management, and actually I'm gonna ask Cindy, Robert, and others to chime in terms of Black Lives Matter. Faculty on management is a great supporter of the movement.
I can chime in, Aisha, if you'd like.
Yeah, please do.
Okay, great. Julian, thanks for your question. Just so you know, I attended a rally last week with Black Lives Matter. That was facilitated on behalf of Dalhousie University. And also, just so you know, the Faculty of Management and our Dean, Dan could maybe speak to this too a little bit more, but our Dean, Kim Brooks, along with the other faculty members, have officially, as academia, have sent solidarity a statement. So this is an actual academic statement that has been written on behalf of the academia, Dalhousie, and particularly the Faculty of Management, and they have signed off on it. And they are utilizing this document as a piece within the academic freedom. Maybe Dan could speak to that a little bit more, as that I'm not on the academia side. However, I do be very passionate on this issue for many reasons, Jillian. But however, I did attend the rally. We are also looking at resources internally to talk about systemic racism. Just so you know, on the employer development side, which has been really fascinating, even just as of today, a local employer came forward to me and asked me they would like to start to designate certain positions and pipeline co-op. In particular, they already have hired our co-op students. However, they're looking to designate a particular position each and every semester. So there's some real activity happening on a positive level at the university. Not to say that there is not a lot that needs to be done, but these are some just initial things that I could think of to speak of, Jillian. I hope that answers your question.
Thanks.
Yeah, maybe I'll just hop in there. So that, yeah, so there was dozens of faculty within our Rose School of Business who signed a national petition, supporting Black Lives Matter, and it has been a very big area of discussion. And we recently had faculty and staff of the faculty management get together to talk specifically about equity, diversity, and inclusiveness. And we've set up our own equity, diversity, inclusiveness committee for the faculty. And they'll be looking for volunteers among students to join that committee. We also have a subcommittee of the MBA committee, program committee, which is a group of students and staff and faculty working on managing the MBA, working on EDI issues. So very much a big focus these days, and definitely standing in solidarity with those communities. Absolutely. And I would encourage you guys that ultimately, like, people in terms of looking at employment partners is you're interviewing them as much as they are interviewing you. So there's always that time at the end of your interviews where you can ask them questions. And ultimately, your relationship with your boss is your biggest satisfier, right? In terms of, if you have a strong relationship with your boss, you have strong communication, you have strong trust, you've got strong values alignment, that's where you're going to really grow. So it doesn't hurt to ask them questions about their values and the culture of the organization. So I think it's very important, definitely.
Yeah. And thanks for that, Dan. And you can actually talk to some alumni and previous corporate residency MBA interns who may have worked for that organization, and ask them about the really actual culture, because sometimes when you visit the website, there's a difference between the stated culture and actual culture. It is really important to understand what's being practiced, and the best way to find that out is to talk to people who may have worked for that organization.
The classic example there is that, I don't know if people know who Enron was, but Enron was an energy company. I believe they were in Houston or Oklahoma, and they're a multi-billion-dollar company that was cooking their books. And they had, an incredibly strong set of values written down. They just didn't adhere to them whatsoever. So it's good to talk to your employers, ask these questions, and make sure that you've got that, that fit.
Yeah. So I guess we can move to the funding piece for Cindy.
Yes, funding opportunities. You can go to the next slide there, please. So I'd like to preface two funding. There's different funding sources, but I'm just going to highlight the Nova Scotia and then the federal. So just so you know, because we're residing, universities residing in Nova Scotia, Dalhousie is in Halifax. And so therefore there is particular funding that Nova Scotian employers can take advantage of. And then you as a participant within Dalhousie University. So this is a long-standing fund that is disseminated through provincial funding. And it is only for Nova Scotia employers. And it's called CEI for short, but it's Cooperative Education Incentive. And basically it is, it's a $7.50 rebate on a $15 hour job. So that's not to say as a corporate residency MBA, you're going to be making $15 an hour. It means that if the employer applies for this funding source, then they are receiving on, if they are, say they're hiring you at $20 an hour, they will receive $7.50 per hour on this. And so basically it's up to 40 hours per week. We have many, many Nova Scotia employers that take advantage of this. I kind of manage this because there's an endorsement piece that has to happen. So employers must first contact, which would really ultimately be me. And then we get their job approved. Once their job is approved, we add them to a list, and then we send it to the government, and then they look at who they're approving. So generally what happens, it's over 100 and something employees, like 130 to somewhere to 100, 130 employers every cycle that take advantage of this locally. And so right now, because of the COVID situation, our government provincially has allowed stacking. So basically, they never allowed stacking before, meaning that you could only partake in one funding position. But now they're allowing stacking, which is both federal and provincial are allowed. So basically, they can essentially get a student, whether that's an undergrad or a corporate residency, for 90% or so of the cost. So you can flip to the next slide. Basically, why I'm presenting this funding to you right now, I'm not expecting you to remember this. There's a lot coming at you. What I'm just wanting you to know is put it on your radar. It's like, oh yeah, there's funding. Oh, what does that mean to me? Why I'm even talking about it is that this is another leveraging tool. So again, the more you're impacted with power of knowledge of understanding how to leverage yourself. So say you're talking to an employer that happen to be local, or they happen to be in Ontario, and they're saying, geez, you know, you're reaching out to them, you're having a informational interview, and they're saying, I'd love to hire someone like your, you know, with your skill set or in that program, or we'd love to give you an opportunity, but we can't afford you. And then you're able to say, hey, oh, well, there's funding opportunities. And so if you go back to the provincial slide for a quick second, I forgot to mention something there, Kate. I want to preface, this is for everyone. What I mean by that is all students are eligible. So whether you're an international student, whether you're a domestic Canadian student, all students are eligible for this funding, which is a really awesome factor for our province in funding employers. If you go to the next slide, the federal one. Again, this is a student work placement program. It's called SWIP for short. It's federal national program. Government have basically slated billions of dollars into this, and they are offering for sure all of this funding until March of next year. It's guaranteed. You can, as an employer, opt into this program, and there's 10 different delivery partners that disseminate this money. So these are nonprofit organizations that disseminate this money on behalf of the federal government nationally. We have a local partner here that I'm very much affiliated with, but Robert and I and Aisha are also affiliating ourselves with the other delivery partners in Ontario. And just so you know, it doesn't matter if the delivery partners in Ontario or in Nova Scotia or out west, the money can be disseminated to any university student / employer. And just so you know, the opportunities are upwards of $7,000 that can be paid towards your work term. And you guys call it internships, we call it work terms. Sometimes they call them experiential learning. There's many different names for them, but essentially we're talking about your corporate residency. Students, there's a different criteria here for you. Unfortunately, and I will say unfortunately, our international students are not eligible for this funding. It is for what we call Canadian citizenship. So that is a federal term that is referenced for people who have Canadian citizenship, permanent residency, or refugee protection under the rights of the law. So if you're legally entitled to work in Canada, which all of you are, because you'll be vetted for that to be able to do your corporate residency, I just want to make sure that you realize that funding is going to be a big considering factor for even employers that otherwise wouldn't have looked at this before. So I'm not expecting you to remember or even put this on your radar, but I just want you to kind of really understand that there's more that meets the eye. You can always talk to me or Aisha or Ali about the intricacies of this. If you're looking at self-directing job search and trying to arm yourself with more information, you'll probably have the PowerPoint. And basically in the PowerPoint, there's going to, once you get a copy, you'll see the links directly to those funding partners. And then you can even take a look at the 10 delivery partners. But I pretty much have a really good handle on what's going on here. So far, so good. It does change all the time. However, if you do have any questions, I'd be more than happy to talk to you about leveraging that within your job search, okay?
Cindy, the only chime in on is, yes, I agree with you. It's unfortunate that the National SWIP scheme doesn't support international students. The program's been around for over 2 years now, and consistently the cooperative education and work integrated learning community in Canada has been advocating for that program to allow international students, and we continue to advocate for it. It's a wonderful program that the federal government has increased the amount of money they're putting in the system to hire students on co-ops and internships and so on. But yes, it is a negative aspect of the program. As well, a big shout out to the province of Nova Scotia. Most provinces don't have a provincial funding program. Some do, but our province has been wonderful in helping us save jobs over the summer. I've been meeting weekly with the director that runs that program with other colleagues in the space in Nova Scotia. And it's important to know these programs exist because sometimes you may find an amazing opportunity, but money is a challenge. So we'll give you self-marketing documents and some other information about this, certainly. So more to come on this, but what the nice thing about it is within Canada, there's a lot of support for students to have valuable and important learning experiences that are integrated with an academic program. So that is the crux of what work integrated learning is.
Yeah, thanks very much, Robert. And I will say, just to say what you, to add to that, Robert, thank you. It is a battle. Robert's saying this SWIP money is fairly new money since of 2018. However, our government has been funding these federal type of initiatives and graduate type initiatives for over a decade. And I have been working in that sphere. And just so you know, it's a little political, but really when it really breaks down, it's about tax-paying dollars. So it's a Canadian taxpayers that are paying, that money's going back into the fund. So that's where and lies the reason, or what they're saying is the reason. I won't get into that, but we do, Robert at his level of being a director and many other directors have advocated. However, there is an opportunity for our province for students to tap into that funding, international students. So I do feel we are at advantage when it comes to funding in our province, absolutely. So thanks very much for adding that, Robert.
And I think we have one more slide about another program, Kate, if we can go on. So the final funding program that we wanted to mention is MITACS Accelerate. This is a nationwide funding program that is available both to international students and Canadian students. So that's really great from that perspective. The criteria would be, let's say you're talking to an employer who's conducting a research, developing a new product. It's an innovative company and they came to a stage to raise funding or commercialize that product and they would like to conduct a market research. So you can actually, those employers can tap into MITACS Accelerate funding, and then they can leverage this federal funding. So I just want to leave it there. So this is to say that actually, especially when you're leveraging your connections to create your own residency, because of the economy and COVID-19, some employers might say, but I don't have the budget. We are struggling with cash flow. Please put them in touch with Management Career Services, and then we will explore both federal and provincial funding opportunities to help them as best as we can. There's an application process, not that each and every application will be approved. Generally, both for federal and provincial funding, they receive more applications than they can support, but we will do our best to provide these options to employers and help them to leverage these funding opportunities. So with that, we would like to thank you all very much for your time. and choosing this program. And we're going to open the floor for your questions. And I think we had some questions through the chat. Ali, do you want to, I don't know if there are some common themes.
Hi, Aisha, and thank you very much to you and Cindy and to everyone who chimed in during the presentation. Thank you so much. I am monitoring the chat box. There aren't any questions at this time. There's been a couple of questions that have come in. Yeah, just a couple of comments that have come in. Sorry, so thank you guys for your comments. It's always great. Oh, okay. There is a question coming in from Emmett. So
Hi, thank you very much, Ali.
Thank you.
So this question is for Cindy. It's just in regards to the student work placement program. Just wondering if you could elaborate a bit on the application process and how that approval process goes ahead.
Sure.
If you could also add kind of some detail as to, what their funding cycle is, if you're familiar with it at the federal level, and if us starting our corporate residency early next year, if that would be advantageous or a disadvantage in that context.
Okay, so I think it's kind of a multi-question. So first was the cycle I caught. So basically it's a running cycle. So what's kind of neat is that they do open up the cycle and then they kind of keep it revolving until the money is kind of dwindled down. It's a little bit arbitrary in the fact that the employer first applies, they receive what we it's a soft pre-approval, meaning they meet the criteria, their job description meets the criteria. And when I say they, meaning they as a company, meaning they, because there's 10 delivery partners, each delivery partner has a very niche kind of market segment that they're looking at. And so for instance, an example would be ICTC. ICTC is a Will Digital. They're looking at digital opportunities. So anything that has to do with science, technology, digital marketing, those e-com work. So a particular partner or employer partner would go and look to, maybe at the funding delivery partners on how they could best meet the criteria of that niche market. And then they would subject by sending their job description. They would upload this. This is all done online. And generally what would happen is to secure the funding is that they would send a request to the student. So they would, that would be you as the hire. So they would know who they're hiring, and then the student would upload their criteria, meaning they would put some valuable information on who they are as a contact. Then once they verify the match, meaning that you meet the criteria as a student, so that's why I made sure I let you know that the criteria is the Canadian citizenship. So they look for that. And to make sure that they're also asking a few other documents, Emmett, of students, meaning your enrollment, so that they secure that you are enrolled in an education institution. Other than that, once that match of the criteria of the student is validated by the funding delivery partner, then what happens is then the money is solidified. Then the money is then transferred to the employer to support. Right now, with this particular funding, because of cash flow issues and supporting employers, they have gracefully lifted some of their requirements. So before, you were never allowed to work remotely under this funding source. So that has now changed. They're allowing 100% remote work. Also, they've changed the criteria on the amount of weeks as the universities have changed. Also, they have looked at when it comes to disseminating the money, they have decided that they are going to give it a little bit more upfront. So before, they would give it to them at the end of the residency. Now they're giving it to them before. It's a little more trickier because your term is longer. Anything that you see online that has to do with SWIFT will probably be more of a 4-month, looking at the undergrad piece. However, we've asked this question and we've gotten verification locally here at the partner level, as well as Magnet and a few other SWIFT delivery partners. They do consider corporate residency. However, what that will look like for the employer is that they will have to apply twice. They won't be able to apply once. So it's like 4-month cohort. So, they kind of apply once with the corporate resident and then they apply again. That's kind of that in a nutshell. But in terms of you being able to take advantage of this when time comes for your residency, yes, you will be able to, and you'll know well in advance. So that's why when Ali says the faster that you can kind of work towards securing opportunities for yourself, then you definitely can look at funding because it's usually generally in the province it's 4 months ahead of time. So, but this is kind of neat because it is a revolving what do you call it, application process. Pardon me, I was looking for the words. Hope that answers everything, Emmett.
Yes, yeah, that's perfect, Cindy. Thank you so much for that.
Awesome. Yeah.
Thank you, Cindy. Thanks, Emmett, for your question. We have another question just in a moment, but I just want to say, just take a look at the chat, everybody, you know, when you have a second. Robert's put a tweet in there about the Black Lives Matter movement. Thank you, Robert, for that. We're also saying, hey guys, connect with us on LinkedIn, and when you do so, just write a little note to us. That's always better that way. It's a nice way to introduce yourself, and you know, we'll connect with you. So thank you for that. Clayton has something in the chat as well about a book. Thanks, Clayton, for that. And okay, so now we have a question from Lindsay.
Yes, thank you, Aisha and Cindy, for talking with us today. I just had a question. Have there been many students in the past, specifically in the corporate residency program, that have landed their residency placements with the Canada Revenue Agency? I noticed they're an employer partner on there, or the federal or provincial government in general.
Yeah. Ali, do you want to answer that?
Sure. So Lindsay, was your question, has anyone worked with the Canada Revenue Agency?
No.
Yeah, like has there been many students in the past that have landed placements with them?
Yeah.
Yes, there have. Yeah, there have been over the years, definitely. I can't think of the, Rayleigh Rath is one that comes to mind. And she worked with the CRA in the Business Intelligence Division. And we have one of our alumni from many years ago, Megan Hapgood. She's still with the CRA. And I feel like there's a couple in between there. I can't think of their names at the moment, but yes, definitely.
And they also hire from undergraduate programs, Lindsay. So we have a strong partnership with CRA. Yeah.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I know we've gone a little over time, everyone, so thank you so much for hanging in there with us. Any other questions at all before we sign off? I'm just looking at the chat box.
Just ask the question to Cynthia, please?
Sorry, was there a question there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think there's a question. Yes.
Hi, this is Kumar here. I just have a question for Cindy.
Okay, sure, Kurma.
Thank you, Cindy and Aisha. That was wonderful. Just specific to international students, because
Can we put the question in the chat? I can't hear.
Kumar, are you still there? I know his internet has been coming in and out.
Perhaps he could put the question in the chat.
Yeah. Kumar, would you like to put your question in the chat menu?
Sorry, we can't hear you. It's unfortunate.
And I don't see him. I'm just kind of flipping back.
Did we lose him?
I think he may have dropped off the call.
Okay.
All right, so we'll wait a moment and for him to come back. Hopefully he can reconnect. Let's keep my eye on the waiting room here. Okay, while we're waiting for that, any other questions right now?
Hey all, sorry I got dropped off there.
Oh, did you?
Was there a question for me?
No, Dan. Kumar had a question, but I believe he's dropped off the call. So we're just waiting to see if he's going to pop back in there. In the meantime, guys, Just a couple of reminders. So if you haven't already, take a look at the LinkedIn presentation on Brightspace from our colleague Jonathan Perry. Some great tips there. Don't forget about the resources at LinkedIn University. Ton of resources there. We will have, tomorrow morning, we're going to see you back here again at 10 a.m. Atlantic Standard Time. You're going to meet our friends from RBC. So we'll have a good chat with them. I'm just...
Oh, there's a chat.
Yeah, and I'd say Kumar lost his connection, guys.
I just re-admitted him. He was just in the waiting room.
Oh,
Okay. Thanks, Kate. Kumar, are you back with us?
Remote, and they are having terrible torrential rains.
Oh, that's why.
So that's why there's an issue with the connectivity. My apologies to that.
No worries.
Okay.
Okay. See, my question was directed towards Cindy, specifically with respect to the international students. Now, if this recruitment cycle for corporate residency starts in September, and we are not there at the campus, so how does it going to affect? That's my question number one. Is it going to have an effect on our corporate residency program?
Because you're not here physically in September, is that what you're asking?
That's right. That's right. That's right. And if I may add the second question to that, since we are not going to be there as part of it, if I have to search for a job, like you said, as an individual to find out some jobs, that's not going to happen because I will not be able to reach out to the employers. So how are you going to connect this gap?
Well,
Thank you.
okay, great. Thanks, Kumar, for your questions. I'll try the best I can, and my colleagues may want to chime in, but I'll answer the first question. So you're wondering if it matters that you're virtually online to partake in this program and ultimately an employment opportunity with the corporate residency. That's my understanding of the question. So I would say that that's not a problem. And based on the fact that our colleagues here, Dan, who's the director, Ali, the manager, Robert, the director of career services, as well as the development team, have all got together. The university is on board, and we are moving forward and meeting each other in this kind of fashion, as if we were in class, but we're doing it in this way. I would say, based on the presentation earlier of our reputation of this program, not only as an academic university, but also the corporate residency piece and our relationships with national employers and local employers, I'm pretty confident that we're in a very good position, as the best we could be. We're not the only program that is running like this in this kind of way, Kumar. So it is, right now when it comes to universities all across Nova Scotia, we're all in the same situation. When it comes to answering your question about the second piece, I won't be able to job search because I'm not there. I think what we're looking to talk about and what we're wanting to share with you is the actual nature of virtual connecting. And just so you know, I have to pivot myself. I'm used to being an extrovert who's out there in social gatherings and networking and bringing in opportunities and meeting employers face to face. And I'm finding a different way of doing that. And so I am being successful in doing that. However, I had to take a tax at how I did it, how I'm going to do it now, and looking at the mindset of where, so I'm having virtual meetings with employers, just like I'm meeting with you guys. And we're talking about funding, we're talking about opportunities, I'm sharing our programs. I had a company the other day interested in the MBA program. I talked to them about the recruitment cycle. It looks to be in alignment. And like I was saying to you before, employers are starting to realize the reality of working remotely, and that these working remotely situations are advantageous. They're working through their internal policies and how they will accommodate this new way of working. So that's just, a bit of the of what my ideas and concepts to your questions. I see Aisha's hand. She'd like to chime in. And
So, Kumar, that's a great question. Thanks for asking it. COVID-19 has been a great equalizer in a way, because right now we are all connected virtually no matter where you are, right? And a lot of employers, some of them, let's say if it was a Calgary employer, they only considered students from Calgary. But if some of them opened their positions, they said, you know what, this job can be done virtually, and they are accepting students from across Canada. If the student is able to work virtually, it doesn't matter where you are located. And in terms of, especially for employers who are located in Toronto, Calgary, outside Nova Scotia, whether you're a Dalhousie student or University of Toronto student or University of Calgary student, you guys are all equal right now. So that's one of the silver linings of COVID-19. So don't think about it as a disadvantage. Leverage this virtual connection as an advantage to market yourself, right? So another thing that I would like to add is, since the program start date is May 2021, we don't know how things will evolve. You guys may be able to come back to campus, and some of the, right now, most of the co-op positions, since we are servicing undergrads right now, they are virtual. Students are working from home and doing their jobs virtually. But especially for fall co-op, it's been really tricky because employers even don't know if they will be able to work from their office. So the job postings are, we are supporting remote positions, but we expect the student, once the restrictions are eased, we expect the student to work from the office. So we are advising our students, when you're having an interview, it's very important to confirm whether that position is 100% virtual. Then it won't matter whether you're in China, India, just you need to clarify whether you can work within 9-hour, 13-hour time zone difference. And there may be some legalities in terms of salary payments, insurance, you know, I'm not gonna get into that. Or if it's initially virtual and if you will be expected to work from the office. So these are some of the important differences that we are experiencing that we've never experienced before in terms of employment. But in your situation, it is June now. We are talking about 11 months ahead, right? So things may be back to a new normal, a little bit more back then. And you guys may be back to Canada if you're an international student, and you may be able to work from an office. So we will all have to wait and see, but we need to be agile and flexible. And you cannot really operate in this new reality with the old thinking. I think we all need to step out of our box, and you need to present yourself and your capabilities in terms of how you can add value to an employer in a virtual environment. And I don't know if Robert, Dan, Ali have anything else to add?
I support your comments, Aisha and Cindy. We are now in a virtual world. We have to think differently. We have to act differently. We have to market ourselves a little bit differently. But you know, Aisha, you made some great points. And we are looking several months down the road, but what you can do now in the meantime is prepare, be ready, be flexible, be open, you know, get everything ready in your own toolkit. We're gonna help you do that, but get everything ready so you can market yourself, you can connect with people. Kumar, to your point and to your question, everybody right now is in a virtual space. So it's learning how to adapt to the right now, what we call the new normal, right? Aisha.
So actually, I just want to add one thing, because this is what we are seeing predominantly, and this is not just for Kumar, for all of you.
Yeah.
Since a lot of employers need to operate virtually, and some of them are not honestly comfortable doing that, like supervising a student, because that's a part of our internship recruitment, because each employer needs to provide supervision. Some of the employers are not comfortable with that because they've never done it, right? And when they post a job and when they're talking to us, they say that, hey, you know, we're going to post a job, but we are really interested in hiring a student who can work independently with minimal supervision. We are looking for students who are ready to hit the ground running. So you need to really keep these in mind, how a virtual work environment influences employers' recruitment practices and selection criteria. And when you're pitching yourself, if you can really give that confidence to an employer, do you know what? I can work independently, I can conduct my research. Yes, I will need some guidance and initial training, but I can be very productive and function virtually, no problem. You're going to set yourself apart. So these are some of the new realities that we are dealing with COVID-19. And you need to really incorporate that into your sales pitch.
Can I hop in there?
I was going to say something, yeah.
Yeah. That, you know, we were already operating an environment last year where I would say 50% of our interviews were being done by telephone or being done by video conference. I can think of one of our great second-year students, Gurpreet, who got a total of at least 5 job offers. None of them were in Halifax. He had met none of them face-to-face, right? So you do not need to have face-to-face to get great job offers whatsoever. Absolutely. You know, this is the new normal. Everybody's facing the same situation, and you just have to be more creative, more persuasive, more prepared, and it shouldn't limit you whatsoever.
Mark, can I also add, we have a participant that's in the Zoom meeting that's helping us, a student, Kate. Kate, wave your hand for everybody, please. Thank you. Kate started virtually. She's doing an 8-month management internship. She's an undergrad, and she started her job with our entire team virtually, and she is doing an amazing job. And I just want to do a shout out to Kate, and just as a real live example, although she's not an MBA student, she is doing an amazing job. And you know what, this is just a real factor in the reality of people starting and having opportunities during a really crisis time, but also taking the best with what they can do with that situation.
I will chime in. I won't repeat anything anyone said, but I would like to say that I just had a scan of our event calendar. We mentioned we had an event calendar in my career, and Aspire is a program of Toronto Financial Services International. They do a lot of skill development, and they have a workshop coming up in about a week. I'll put a direct link to it. You have to pre-register, and it's all about networking virtually. The people delivering that workshop, Mike Shelson. So Michael is a fan of ours. He's the director of global campus recruitment for Scotiabank, one of our employer partners. Michael freely admits that one of his most important schools to recruit from outside of Ontario is Dalhousie. He did a nice video for us. Misha is from the Ontario Teachers Plan, and Kavita is from Swiss Re. If you're interested in financial services, it's a great organization to check out to up your skill development. If you're not interested in financial services, that 1 hour about networking virtually, what we're seeing is, someone said, and I've used the term myself, it's a great equalizer. We can tap into so many more resources now because everyone's very comfortable doing it in this format. So there's lots of opportunities to take advantage of as well. So I will throw 2 links in the chat as well, one for that specific event and one about the Aspire program, which is through Toronto Financial International as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Robert.
That addressed that was wonderful. It was very insightful, I should say. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for your question. All right, great. Thank you, everyone. I know, like I said, we're a little bit over time. Thanks for hanging in. Thanks for your great questions and your participation. it's day 2. So tomorrow morning, we look forward to seeing you again for our session at 10 a.m. AST with RBC. Aisha, Cindy, thanks so much for all of your input and all of your words of wisdom and your expertise. Thanks so much.
My pleasure.
Robert, Dan, and Kate, and we may have some other folks on the call. I can't see everybody right now, but thank you guys so much for chiming in and all of your time. So we'll sign off. And Robert, did you throw those links